Let's talk about the emotional weight of clutter. Does it feel like does your clutter feel more than just stuff? Maybe it's draining your energy. Maybe it's making you feel stuck, or maybe it's even weighing down your relationships. That's why I wanted to talk about this topic today of the emotional weight of clutter. I think that we forget that our clutter is more than stuff and that some people say it's just stuff. But as we go through, I'm going to explain why our stuff is associated with both positive and negative memories and why clearing clutter can do more than just creating space in our homes. It can create space for our relationships to grow. It can create space for us to pursue a newer and brighter future, especially as we step into 2025. But it can be good for us emotionally. I'll be honest, I did not understand this for a long time because I thought I was so logically driven. I was so left brained that the emotional stuff didn't affect me. It took me a while to realize that actually I was just shutting down my emotions by just going straight to my logic. And my life has been so much better by taking care of myself from an emotional standpoint and also from a logical standpoint. So let's dive into the topic of the emotional weight of clutter, but I'm going to do it with compassion and with understanding because I've been there too. And as we uncover the hidden emotional weight of clutter, we're going to talk about how it keeps us from feeling calm, from feeling confident, from feeling in control. And that's the real bottom line. We all want that. We want to feel calm, we want to feel confident, we want to feel in control. We're meeting for the very first time, my name is April Bragg, and I am a clarity coach, and I help women live, love, and lead with confidence. And we just can't do that. Or we can do it, but it's harder when we feel like we have clutter that is holding us back. And also, if you're ready to finally declutter in 2025, then I've got something that I want to share with you. So I know for many of you, decluttering, getting more organized in 2025 might be one of your biggest goals. And I'm going to share with you a resource. It's a free resource for how to create a home that takes care of itself. So stay to the end and I'll give you the details for that. But let's talk about the fact there's three different ways that emotional clutter weighs us down. Number one, it ties us to our past. Our stuff, we've been accumulating it in our past. And the longer that we've lived, a lot of times the more stuff that we have. Unless we've had some kind of big reason that has kind of cleared out the clutter. And that might be a positive thing, like maybe we moved overseas to fulfill a dream and we decluttered greatly to get over there. But sometimes that is a negative circumstance that happens, like maybe we experienced a tragedy or like a house fire or something like that. And we've lost a great deal of our stuff. But in general, the longer that we lived, the more clutter that we have. And it's a problem that will just keep on growing until we learn how to conquer it. And clutter, therefore, ties us to our past. It's often a reminder of both good and sad memories. It's not just a pile of stuff. That's why it's so hard to get rid of it. It's a connection to the person that we were in the past or to the life that we used to live. Maybe it's your child's baby clothes, or maybe it's a gift from somebody that is you no longer speak to. Our stuff carries memories in it. They carry emotions when we look at it. It's not that the item itself is emotional. but it's that we have an emotional attachment to our stuff. Sometimes just because we own it, but sometimes because there was a memory attached to it, positive or negative. I really stepped into this when I might have told the story in the past that my mother-in-law had planned this big family get together, and they really wanted to take family pictures. And in her generosity, she also said, "I want to for each family to have their own family picture beyond the big family picture." And that's quite expensive to hire a photographer and to arrange all this stuff. And then they took us out to dinner afterwards to make it a special event. But the deal was this: because it's such a large family and because of things beyond our control, it was delayed. And I had one of my kids was at an age where he just had a meltdown. So in the pictures, fortunately, the big family picture turns out good. Great. But when it came time for our family picture, which was even more delayed, he couldn't smile. I mean, he's holding back tears. And when she was getting ready to order the picture, she's like, "Do you want this picture? Or, which picture do you want?" And I said, "Thank you very much, but I don't want any pictures because this is, even though it's valuable, it's a memory of a bad time, of the fact that my husband, or not my husband, he was emotionally mature to handle the delays, but my son was not. He was young and he was just so to remember that time was to remember the frustration of that time. And I just didn't want to keep that up there for him all the time. So every time he'd see that picture, he'd remember that he had a hard time that day. So that was, I preemptively prevented that clutter from coming into my life. But this is where Marie Kondo really shared some wisdom with her message of ask the question, does this item spark joy? Now, the problem is that is sometimes a very, very difficult question to answer when we are surrounded by way, way, way too much stuff. We're just in the overwhelmed state. We can't even access joy. So that's not actually where I like to start when I'm teaching people how to declutter to create a home that takes care of itself. I like to start in a different way that's a little bit easier. And I get way more into that in my workshop. And I'll put the link in the description below so that you can sign up for it because it's free. But like I said, our stuff is not just neutral. It's got good or bad memories assigned to it. And so that is why we can feel weighed down. If you're super sensitive, you can even feel weighed down by somebody else's stuff or emotions. You're picking up on micro expressions or, um, you know, there's there is a memorial to veterans near where I lived, and I want to visit it. But I also want to visit it on a day where I can give it plenty of attention because I know it's going to be an emotional weight. I want to give honor to them, but the whole purpose of the memorial is to honor the grief and the sadness. So our stuff are micro reminders of both positive and emotional and negative emotion. The question you want to ask yourself is this: if I let go of all the things that felt heavy to me, and if I only kept the things that felt positive and light and inspiring to me, what would my experience of life be like? What would my energy be like? What would walking into my home feel like if I was only surrounded by positive memories? Think about that. I'll be honest, I did not know that when I set out on my decluttering journey, but I have experienced it now. And it's one of the top 5 greatest gifts that I've ever given to myself is to surround myself with only items that truly, uh, that remind me of only good memories. Okay. So, or that help me for the future. But the question you want to ask when you're dealing with clutter that ties you to the past is this. Does keeping this item add value to my present life, like right now? Or is it just keeping me stuck in the past? So, number one, clutter ties us to the past. But number two, clutter creates stress and steals our rest. And this might be something that you are super sensitive to. I know that I am. Clutter makes us feel like we're always behind, we're never done, we're unable to relax. It always is a constant reminder of unfinished work. And it keeps our mind spinning like, oh, there's something that I need to do there. There's something I need to do there. There's something I need to do there. Um, just out of my eyesight because I've been working on trying to find different microphones. Right here is what I would call clutter, as in I bought a microphone last week that I did not like and I need to return it to the store. So that's one example of needs to be done, needs to be done. It's distracting me from doing this live right now. So I'd love to hear from where you're sitting right now. Is there one item, and you can put it in the chat, that is reminding you of something that needs to be done? Okay, now that's the power of clutter. That is the emotional weight of clutter. We could constantly be driven, feeling like we have to do something, even though it's supposed to be a relaxing time. We're trying to sit and relax and watch a movie, with the family, and there is clutter. We're just like, oh, I just can't relax when there's stuff around. That's a really true thing. So if that is you too, then acknowledge it. And that would be another reason why you'd want to clear the clutter. Here's another example. Think about when you walk into a cluttered kitchen and your brain immediately screams, there's so much to do. I don't know where to start. You got up and you decide, I want to go make cookies. And then you go into the kitchen and it's cluttered and you're just like immediately defeated, like, oh, I can't make cookies because there's dinner dishes in the way. Yeah, that is the second way that that clutter adds emotional weight to us, because it creates stress and it steals our rest. And if you're finding this helpful, then you're going to really love the strategies that I share in my free workshop, From Chaos to Calm. That's where we'll dive into the exact steps that you need to declutter fast and without overwhelm. So, by the way, it's coming up tomorrow if you're watching this live. If you miss that, I will have a future one scheduled, but I really encourage you to show up tomorrow if you possibly can. It'll be I think it'll be very helpful for you. You get to decide. But think about it this way, and maybe you'll want to answer this in the chat. What's one space in your home that feels the most stressful when it's cluttered? So you can put it in the chat, comment on it. For me, the space that feels most stressful when it's cluttered is it's my office, because it feels like it's hard to get to start doing the work if there's all the to-do list, because, a random pile of paper feels like, oh my goodness, how many to-do items are in that tiny little thing? So for me, it's my office. So that is the area where I want to make sure that I focus on keeping that clutter free, because it affects me. It affects my productivity, but it affects my income too. All right. And then there's a third way that clutter creates an emotional weight. And that's that it crowds out joy and it crowds out growth. In fact, it's going to sound funny, but I came up with this whole idea of doing this topic because this last weekend, because I live a clutter-free life, my weekends are quite free. And so I had decided I want to rewatch. This is going to sound so silly. This is going to sound so nerdy to some of you guys. But if you like this movie, I want to see it in the chat, because I want to know that I'm not alone in this. I rewatched the entire Lord of the Rings series, all 3 movies, extended edition. It took more than 10 hours. I did not watch it at one time. I watched one on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. But if you've watched the movie, you know at the very end that the main piece of clutter in that movie is the One Ring. It's so funny because you see Frodo and Samwise Gamgee, and Samwise, I mean, he looks like a pack horse. He's carrying pots and pans on the whole journey, and he's going lighter at it because he loves to cook he loves food. As a foodie, I totally identify with it. He's going lighter through the journey with all that stuff than Frodo is with the one piece of clutter, the ring. And the further that he goes, the heavier it gets. That's the emotional weight of clutter. And it's so funny because it's not just that, it's not things that weigh, it's that what's tied to the things. So because joy is tied to Samwise Gamgee's, pots and pans, and like I said, he looks like this big old pack animal, carrying all this stuff. I was cracking up as I was seeing him in the scene over and over again. But it brings him joy. And so that's why he can carry it with a light heart. But for us, clutter is crowding out our joy and it's crowding out our growth. So when our homes are full of clutter, it's hard to truly enjoy the things we love because there's clutter in front of it. We can't see the things we love because of the stuff that's in front of it. And it's just buried in the noise. But when we really get cleared off, so like, for example, in my bedroom, I have a dresser. And on the dresser, I have a, a big bird and a little bird. They're two little ceramic birds or porcelain birds. They're white and just very simple, minimalist designs. And then between it, I have the perfume that I wear on a daily basis. And I just have that as a trio and that's the only thing that goes on my dresser. And my husband, I thought this was so fun. He asked me the other day, what do those birds mean to you that you have them there? And I thought, this is so interesting. He noticed them because it's the only thing that I have there, but they do have meaning because it reminds me of a mama bird and a baby bird. And I've got two kids. I love them very much. One of my kids gave me the bird. And when they did, it may just be a knickknack to them, something that mom might like. But to me, I create a positive association. My child gave me this, and it reminds me of the relationship of a mom to a child, and how you want to, this is going to sound ridiculous, maybe, but how you want to hide them under your wing, when they're little, protect them from everything. And how a good mom is also, when the time is right, going to push them out of the nest and let them fly on their own. I'm tearing up because I'm in that stage now. They gave me that before I was in that stage. I'm in that stage now. And it reminds me that is a mom's role. So I have that there. And that's the story that stuff represents. And even though it tears me up, it's actually a very positive, encouraging message of this is your role. This is a good thing. Even if it feels hard sometimes, it's a good thing. So the things that you keep in your home, are they weighing you down? Or are they encouraging joy? Are they encouraging growth? Clutter also crowds out space for growth. It's hard to welcome new opportunities or enjoy meaningful relationships when we're weighed down by the old. Let's say you're divorced. It is hard to explore a new relationship, maybe, get out there dating again when you are still surrounded by the emotional weight of your past. If you were still wearing your wedding ring and it has negative associations and you've got a bunch of stuff. I had a client one time that, as we were talking about the emotional weight of things, she was like, oh my goodness, I could just get rid of everything from my marriage, from my previous marriage. She goes, I felt like I had to go through every single little thing, but I could just release it all at one thing. I could just get rid of it, one fell swoop. I don't have to go through it and decide what I want to keep or what I don't want to keep. I don't need to keep any of it. She was so freed by that idea. So, here's another thing. Have you ever discovered amongst all of your clutter something that you truly love, but it was just hidden by the things that, were just getting in the way? Have you rediscovered the joy of a forgotten hobby? Like I said, rewatching movies that I love or revisiting books that I have enjoyed reading. I get to do those things because I cleared the clutter because I have more space for it. So, here's the tip when you feel like clutter is crowding out your joy and your growth. What you can do is this: focus on creating space for what matters most. Clear an area that brings you joy. Like, perhaps it's a craft table, maybe it's a bookshelf, maybe it's just a place where you just want to put a couple of things just to remind yourself, this is what I am creating space for. Use the emotional weight of stuff, but take the positives and use it to fuel your decluttering journey. And again, it might feel hard to let it go. That's why, if it does feel hard to let it go, I recommend that you join my free workshop, From Chaos to Calm: How to Create the Home You Love. Because in it, I'll share my declutter fast method. That is how you declutter any area in 15 minutes or less if you follow 4 steps in a certain order. So I'll help you get over the overwhelm and over the guilt and the feeling stuck by your stuff in the past. And we'll be able to make confident and quick and powerful decisions that will set you up for success in your future. So, in summary, clutter does tie us to our past. It creates constant stress and it steals our full ability to enjoy life. And that is why decluttering can be one of the most powerful tools that we use to create the future, to create the life of our dreams, to say it, in a broad way. But the good news is, no matter where you are right now, it can change with small, consistent steps. So, I am not a believer that decluttering is something that we have to do for the rest of our life. I think decluttering is something that is way more powerful if we will treat it as a one-time project that we can do one time and then move on with the rest of our life. Because we'll develop habits and routines that stop the clutter from re-entering our life too. And I'll go into that a little bit more also in the workshop. But if you're tired of letting clutter weigh you down and you are ready to create the home you love, then make sure you sign up for that workshop. The link is in the comment, or the link is in the description. But also, I'd like to know if this has helped you, or if you've picked up one insight from this video. I invite you to share it in the chat. It will help you remember, it'll help somebody else, and it'll also help me to know for future videos uh, what's the nuggets that really resonate with you. So I'd love to hear what your one big takeaway from the video. Don't try to remember it all, because that can feel like clutter, trying to constantly remember everything you've ever heard. Go for the one takeaway. What's your one takeaway from this video that helped you? And if you're tired of clutter tying you to the past, creating stress, and preventing joy and growth in your life, then I hope I see you on the workshop tomorrow. It's going to be fun. Um, and it's going to be based on principles that you use not just in your home, but in your life, in your calendar, in your relationships, in your business. Because when we talk about letting go of clutter to create the home and life that we love, we're talking about principles that work. And so they'll work in more than one domain in your life. So, any questions? I should have asked that earlier. Should remind you that if you're showing up live, this is your chance to get your questions answered. Be glad to give out free coaching or free questions answered during a live. Let me check one more time on the chat to see. And by the way, thank you so much for watching it live. I really appreciate you. It's it really it's really nice to be able to connect with other like-minded people who are on the same journey or taking, the same journey if we're even at different stages of it. Um, it just makes life better, don't you think? All right. So if there are no more questions, I am going to end this and wish you great clarity and clutter-free living. All right. Bye-bye.